Namaste yogis, I am Melissa. Some of y'all know me as Om with Melissa, and I'm going to be guiding you through a beginner's yoga practice today. We'll focus a little bit on alignment and a lot on creating space and opening the body to have a more receptive day. So we tend to lock things away in our body. We get stressed, we tie things up in our hips and in our shoulders, and we just feel more tense for it. So today we'll work on opening, expanding, and trying to find space for a little more joy in our practice and in our lives. We'll actually begin quite gently today on our back. So when you have a moment, grab 2 blocks. Maybe they're helpful for bringing the earth closer, and set them at the front of your mat, and we'll begin on our backs. You'll start by finding your body here in the room on the mat before we take any movement. Just take a moment and reach through the heels, extend them out towards the end of your mat, and then let your toes fall out. Maybe take a big inhale and stretch your arms overhead, like just waking up from a nice long nap, just finding some awareness through the body and the shoulders. And then slide the hands down by your sides, starting class by stopping. So finding ourselves in a gentle Shavasana corpse pose. And using this as a diagnostic tool. Spending the first few moments of class not only focusing on where our breath is in our body, but finding out where all the knots are. So I like to take in a big inhale, overinflate the lungs and the belly, and then sigh it out the mouth. And as you sigh it out, you start to notice, oh, my shoulders, maybe they're a little too close to my ears. And I draw them back down the body. And take another big inhale, fill up, overinflate the lungs, the belly, even into the hips. And then sigh it out. And maybe notice, if you're holding any tension in your hands, release the fingertips away from the palms. Let the hands just roll forward or back. And then finally, big inhale through the nose, exaggerated in-breath. Maybe even exaggerated out-breath. Just making that funny kind of noise. And noticing if you're holding any tension in the hips or the thighs, letting the toes roll out. And then finally starting to tune into the body and feeling those subtle tightenings. So often we hold tension in the belly. We call everything up and in all the time, hiding. Can you soften that? And then just taking 2 more breaths. Maybe bringing the word soften to the forefront of the mind. And thinking about what it means to be soft. To polish off our rough edges and make space for ease. When you have that space for ease, once more inhale, draw the arms up overhead, reach back behind you, lengthen the toes out in front. Walk the feet over towards the left edge of your mat. And then take a big inhale and lift your shoulders, your head and neck. Reach them over to the left edge of the mat as well, coming into this very easy half moon or banana shape. Trying to press the right hip down into the mat to create some space from left shoulder to right hip. And then looking over the right shoulder and seeing if you can find some ease through the face. So often when we turn our gaze, we tend to overextend through the eyes. Can you soften the gaze? And gently we'll walk our feet back to center. We'll use an inhale to pick shoulders, head, and neck up. And exhale, we'll gather the knees into the chest, squeeze them in, point the tailbone down, tuck the chin gently, and squeeze the knees in. As you squeeze the knees in with the arms, now begin to press into the arms with the knees. So you start to feel an awakening across the hip flexors. A very tight space for all of us, a very easy space for us to stick our tension and our anxiety right in our hips. And then just for one breath, fill up. And as you exhale, curl your knees and forehead in together. Make a tiny, tiny little ball. Press your tailbone down. Press your knees into your shins, shins into your knees. And then gently inhale, extend, reach the toes out in front, arms back behind. Settle here with the exhale. And then walk the feet over to the right. Keep the hips center of the mat. Another inhale rolls through the body, and we'll pick up the head, shoulders, and neck and set them over to the right. Again, coming into this easy banana shape. Opening up left side body. Pressing the left hip down towards the mat. Changing the gaze over the left shoulder. And breathing into that left side waist. Soften those belly muscles. See if you can keep from pulling them in too tightly. Let them be engaged, but not overdone. And then inhale brings us back to center. First, the feet walk just in front of the hips. And we pick up the shoulders with an in-breath. Becoming a little more active. On an inhale, we'll pick the feet up towards the sky. Bend the knees as much as you need to get there. Press the heels towards the sky, toes towards the face. Gather the hands behind the shins, behind the thighs. Press the thighs into the hands, hands into the thighs. And see if you can get those legs as straight as they can. And straight might be here today. It might be here. It might be here. Wherever straight is for you, let that be the case. Flexing the feet, getting really strong and active. Bend the right knee, place the right foot onto the mat, and then start to chamber, meaning grab the left leg towards the outside edge of the body and pull down with the left hand, moving towards our half happy baby. Now you may stay here being perfectly content, or you might need a little bit more, extending the right leg out, coming into a reclined lunge pose. And think about a lunge. When we're in a lunge, we flex that right foot because we're on the ball of the foot. We're pulling, pressing energy through the left foot as though we're standing in it. And then just gently, mindfully take your right hand to your right hip to help ground into that space. Take one more big breath here. And then allow the left knee to move into the body. Reach with the right hand to cross over. Come into a gentle twist. Right hand guides left knee across the body with ease. With your next inhale, move back to center. Gather both knees into the body just for a moment. Step the left foot down to the mat this time. Half happy baby on the right side. Right knee moves towards the underarm. We'll pull that foot in towards the body. And again, stay here. This is a great place to open, or you can start to extend the left leg long. As the left leg moves long, left hand to left hip, grounding the pelvis into the mat. Flexing the left foot, right foot as well. And then pulling with a little bit of energy with that right arm to really feel the right leg fire up, become part of the pose. And then as much as we're pulling with the right side, we're softening with the left side. We're creating space across the left side body. Release the right hand down to the mat. Use the left hand to bring that right knee across the body this time. Twist. If it becomes too much, you can always step the right foot down and shimmy the left hip underneath the right so that it's less of a pull across the low back. It can be a little bit intense, especially if you're a runner and have strong side body muscles. Use an inhale to bring that knee back to center. Gather both knees into the chest. Cross the ankles. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then I'll challenge you to roll up to standing without using your hands. So what does that look like? Maybe it's hands on the shins. Maybe they're on the thighs. You just begin to rock and roll. And eventually you rock so far up that you stamp the feet down and rise to standing. If you got halfway there and your hands came down to the earth, brilliant. Let the hands bring you to the top. Be where you need to be. Soften into what your body needs, not simply what I ask you to do. Very important. Drop the head down to look towards the knees. Slowly bend the knees, drop the chest towards the thighs, curl the chin into the chest, relax the hands, and as you're ready, step down with the feet on purpose. Start to unroll the body all the way up to standing. As you come to standing, you'll feel the hips stack over the heels, the shoulders stack over the hips, the ears stack over the shoulders. Step the feet just underneath the hips so you have some space in between the feet. Inhale and gather the hands up overhead. Press the palms together intentionally. Pull the belly in, so root down through the feet. The tailbone lengthens towards the heels and the belly draws into the ribcage. On an exhale, gather the palms together, press them on purpose. Slide the thumbs down into the heart space. Elbows go wide. Shift your weight into your left foot. Step back generously, 3 feet on the right foot. Right toes will point towards the front right corner of your mat. Left toes will point directly forward. You'll check in, heel to heel alignment, or maybe step the right foot out towards the edge of your mat for a little more stable base. Just gives us a little better balance, especially if you're new to the mat. And then begin to move your hands towards your hips. As your hands come onto your hips, check in with that left knee. Let it be over the left ankle. Tailbone points down and the right hip wraps forward. The left hand's going to keep a hold of that left hip to help us ground into space here. Press down through the outside edge of the right foot. As you inhale, the right hand up overhead. Belly draws in, shoulders roll back gently. Left hand is still connected with the hip. Or maybe we take the left hand up to meet the right, biceps by the ears, feet pressing into the earth, glutes turning on purpose, and we're in our warrior one. Breathe here on purpose. Gently take the hands back down to heart center, revolve onto the ball of the back foot, and start to straighten your front leg. As you straighten the front leg, start to step the right heel down. Gentle bend in that left knee. Inhale, the arms move back up overhead. As you exhale, gently curl the chin into the chest. And I want you to round over that front leg. Gently chin towards the chest, fingertips towards the toes. Maybe keep them connected for a little more advanced practice. Or for those of you who are new to the mat, maybe hands are onto your shin. They might even be on a block. This is a really nice place to frame the foot. Use the blocks to find the earth a little bit closer and then square off the hips. So squaring off the hips means we're pulling them in line to the front short edge of our mat. A nice way to do that is to take the left thumb, roll it into the left hip crease and roll that left hip back. Inhale, lift up, look forward. And as you exhale, melt over that front leg. Gently release the right hand to the mat if it's on your shin or onto a block. You'll inhale, halfway lift, so lengthen the spine. Make sure that left hip is rolling back. And then use that connection of left hand, left hip to roll the left shoulder open as we twist open in a modified Trikonasana. Squeeze the inner thighs together, press back a lot through the back heel, and then gently inhale back to center. Step your left hand onto the block or onto the earth, whichever works for you. Start to bend your left knee just a little bit. Come onto the ball of the back foot. As you do, start to lift your chest away from your left thigh. Maybe hands will move into heart center or they'll stay connected to the blocks. And we'll gently power up into our warrior three. So we'll step down strongly with the left leg. Use that to lift the right leg back behind us. Try to turn the right hip down, press through the right heel, and lift up the heart just a little bit so that you're energetic through the upper body as well. Gently start to shift your gaze towards the mat. Look down, bend the right knee, slide the right foot behind the left. Try to line the pinky toes of the feet up. Forward fold over those crossed ankles. Maybe hands are on the blocks, maybe they're on the floor. If you're here and it's not too intense and you'd like a little bit more, you can walk the hands over to the left edge of your mat, trying to keep the right hip in line with the left and reaching the right fingertips firmly into the ground and away from that right hip, elongating through the outer right thigh. Big inhale, fill up. As you exhale, soften into the fold. Release the walk, just drape yourself over. Take a moment, inhale, fill up. Hold at the top. Assess where you're keeping tension that you don't need and see if you can soften those places. Gently step the right foot beside the left and then under the right hip. Bend the knees a lot, drape the chest over the thighs, chin towards chest. Slowly step down with the feet to roll all the way back up to standing. As you get to standing, stacking hips over ankles, shoulders over hips, ears over shoulders. Inhale and float the arms up overhead. Cross the thumbs the other way, the way that doesn't come naturally, and then slide the hands down into heart center. Elbows in line with the wrists, step down strongly with the right foot, and let the left foot move back 3 feet. Same adjustments here, arch to, heel to heel alignment. As you bend into that front right knee, step down strongly with the back edge of that left foot. We'll take our hands to our hips. Use that as an opportunity to square the hips off here. Tailbone pulls down to the mat, belly rolls in. Right hand's gonna stay connected to that right hip, guiding it back, and we'll inhale the left arm up, reach up, come up. If you're here and you feel locked in the low body, float the right hand up to meet the left. Gentle gaze up towards the thumbs. Breathe. Keep connecting with those feet. Notice where you can soften and where you can engage. Gentle exhale moves through the body as you slide the thumbs down into heart space. Start to straighten the right leg just a little bit. Roll onto the ball of the back foot. From here, start to straighten both legs as the right leg comes straight, the left heel presses down into the mat. Roll the hips forward, chest forward. We'll slide the hands up overhead once more. Big inhale, fill up, look up. And as you exhale, chin to chest, we're rounding over that front leg. Reaching for blocks here is a great option, or taking hands to the mat or hands to your shin. Wherever you are, be there. Maybe step the back foot in a little bit if you need a little less space here to support the balance. Your right hand's gonna move towards your right hip. Roll that right hip back. As it does, try to let go of some of the tension in your left hand to fold in a little bit deeper. Maybe relax the neck, pull the shoulders away from the ears. Big inhale, halfway lift, come up. Keep pressing that right hip back with the extension through the spine, so the head is lifted, crown of the head reaching towards the front of the room. Roll the right shoulder back and twist the left shoulder to the right so that we're twisted in our triangle once more. Gentle inhale brings you back to center. Release your right hand to the mat. Start to bend your right knee just a little bit. Reaching for your blocks. Or maybe taking hands into heart center. We'll inhale, power up through that right leg. Lift the left leg from the mat. We're in our warrior three from before. And maybe hands stay connected to the block. Maybe they're down on the earth. Wherever you're comfortable, be there. One more breath. Gentle bend of the right knee as you pull the left leg behind the right, step the left pinky toe besides the right, and fold in. Again, this is the perfect place to practice. This might be really intense, or you might need to venture a little bit further and you just walk your hands over towards the right edge of your mat, reaching your right fingertips a little bit further over and back to make space for the left fingertips to root down firmly. Press the left hip back to really make space through the left side waist. And as you're ready, releasing that and just draping yourself over the legs. Maybe even shake the head out here. Take a big inhale, that diagnostic tool, fill up. And as you exhale, soften any place of tension. I am infamous for pressing it in between my shoulder blades. So that's the first place my mind goes as I try to ease. Think about where you have those knots at the end of the day. Can you breathe into those knots and untie them, soften them here? Gently, slowly, hands onto the blocks or onto the earth. Step the left foot underneath the left hip. Bend the knees as much as you need to drape the torso over the thighs. Wrap the hands behind the knees, so hold on to opposite elbows if it's possible. Drop the head down. Shift the weight a little more into the balls of the feet. Some of us may start to straighten the legs gently. Some of us may stay very folded. Wherever you feel sensation is exactly where you want to be. Breathe here for one more breath. And then release your hands down to the mat. Step the feet as wide as the mat. Reach for opposite elbows and fold over, taking this a little more into the hamstrings here. And you can have the knees as bent as you need to find ease. You may even have your forearms on your blocks to bring the earth a little bit closer. Do what makes sense in your body. Inhale and halfway lift. Step the right foot all the way towards the back right edge of your mat. Coming into our lizard, we'll let the right knee tap down. The left toes will roll out. We might stay lifted here. We might have those blocks nearby to rest our forearms on just for a breath. Some of you may have the range of motion to come all the way down onto your forearms. If you do, by all means, you're welcome to come there. If you notice, it's very similar to what we took at the start of class in our reclined half happy baby. We'll gently come back onto our hands if we've come down onto our forearms. We'll step the left hand to the outside of the left foot and start to heel toe that left foot over. Looking for the shin to be parallel to the front side of the mat someday in our practice. Today, if it's more convenient for our body, we're going to point the toes towards our right hip, let the left knee forward, and start to slide the right leg back behind us. Coming into our sleeping pigeon, we'll gently roll over that front leg. Now, if you feel like you're rolling a lot onto the right hip to accommodate, or you feel like you're seated very high, you might like to take your block and chalk it right underneath your hip. That'll give you a little more space to find ease here today. And then pigeon, in my opinion, is the ultimate place to find out how just to soften in your body. There are so many points in pigeon where our body can be a little bit annoyed with us right now. Maybe it's our outer hip. Maybe it's the inner thigh on the right side. Maybe it's the front hip. Maybe it's the upper back. Maybe it's the sound of my voice trying to get you through this pose. This is a difficult one. Be here for 2 more breaths. Thinking of your keyword today, your affirmation to soften. And that last breath moves through. You'll gently walk up onto your hands. Roll onto your left hip. Bring your right leg out in front. Step both feet onto the mat and just windshield wiper the knees right and left as you start to ease through the body here. Gently cross the ankles, hands into heart center. See if you can stand just as we did before without using our hands, or place your hands down to do just that. Step your feet as wide as your mat. Keep your right foot just where it is. Shift your weight into your right foot and then take your left leg all the way back. Left knee connects to the mat. Right toes turn out gently. We'll come into our lizard on this side. So again, if you need your blocks, reaching for your blocks and taking your forearms onto blocks. If you do not have blocks and you're using your hands to stay lifted, always come down to your forearms if you can. But if you're staying here, what I want you to do is be really mindful not to lock out your joints. So we tend to be here holding on for dear life. But if you're here and you're just trying to make it through, press up through the back side of the heart. Take a soft bend into the elbows. So now we're putting the weight into the musculature rather than into the joints. Be here for one more breath wherever you are, whether you're lifted or lowered. We'll all use that next breath to rise back up onto our hands. Gentle bend in the elbow. Start to heel toe the right foot in between the hands. And then gently all the way over towards our pigeon from before. So seasoned practitioners, you might have your shin parallel to the front edge of your mat. Those of us who are work on seasoning, you'll point your toes more towards the hip and make it a little more accommodating this morning or afternoon, whatever time you're practicing. Again, chalk with your block. So if that right hip is lifted, settle the hip onto the block. Make it easy so that we don't risk injury. And then eventually starting to walk the body down, moving towards our sleeping variation. You might like to have a block under your forehead to ease through the neck if you feel like you're really tense here. You might be all the way down. If you're here in that sleeping swan, just again looking for space and ease throughout the body. This pose is one that took me a lot of time to find softening in. I can remember sitting in this pose as a new student and cursing the teacher for making us stay here. And now I try to use that tension in my body as a place to move my breath. So as we're here for 2 more breaths, really breathe into those sticky spaces. Feel them out. Find ease where you can. Gently walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. Roll onto the right hip. Slide the left leg forward. We'll keep both feet on the mat and slowly roll onto our backs. Once we're on our backs, we'll let the knees just fall right and left. Eventually bringing the knees back to center. We'll take the right leg, cross it over the left. Press down with the left foot to scoot the hips over to the right. And then invite those knees to fall to the left. We'll bring the left arm across the chest and use the right arm to gently hug it in. It almost feels like we're in a modified eagle here. Twisting the legs in one direction as we pull the shoulder across the body. And even as we twist, tune into the center, the middle of the body. Soften that space, and as we ease there, we find the twist is a little more accessible. You might even try to exhale out a little bit more each time and find that that twist becomes a little bit deeper. Gently release the arms Press down with the feet to bring the knees back to center. Scoop them back under the body, and then cross the left leg over the right, moving just into the other side. Step down with the right foot to shift the hips left as the knees fall to the right. This time, bring the right arm across the body. Use the left arm to hug it in. Again, using those exhales to find depth. Every time you soften the body, you make space for the knee to move a little bit more towards the earth. The right shoulder to find a little more space across the body. Release first through the arms. Bring the hands down so the knees can come back to center. Unwind the legs. Bring both knees into the chest. Slide them to the outside edges of the rib cage. Hold on to the bottoms of the feet and spend a few moments rocking side to side in happy baby. Release the feet down to the floor and then slide them all the way out to the front edge of your mat. Reach your arms back behind you, lengthen, and then soften the hands down by your sides. Shrug the shoulders onto the back body, so gently slide the shoulder blades in towards the spine to elevate the heart. Reach through the toes, find space through the legs. The palms spin up. Taking a big inhale through the nose, an exaggerated sigh out the mouth. Do that 2 more times and find all the places where you're holding tension and don't need to. Maybe between the eyebrows, maybe in the feet, maybe the palms have the fingers curled into fists. Wherever they are, try to find space using just the breath. And then breath by breath, untie the knots that we create all day. The tension, the anxiety, the stress that we tuck away in our bodies. Can you slowly start to pull those knots apart? And eventually finding an effortless drift into ease. Be here for the next few moments, maybe even drift the eyes closed if that feels safe for you. Just ride the gentle wave of breath in and out the body. Stay here in this shape as long as you can. And keeping everything else heavy. With your next in-breath, bend your right knee, and then your left. Step down with the feet to shift the hips over to the right. Roll onto your left side, using your left arm as a pillow. Few breaths here, normalizing the body. Effortlessly lying here in our side-lying Shavasana. Pressing the right hand into the mat. Start to make your way up to seated gently. Keep the chin bowed into the chest. Fold the hands into prayer right at heart center. Make the commitment to yourself to find ease throughout the day. To pull the word soften to the forefront of your mind and notice where you can release tension physically in the body to make space for the mental and emotional aspect to follow. As always, it is a pleasure and a privilege to share sacred space with all of you. Namaste. Thank you, yogis. Can't wait to practice with you again.